Hello, this is Sue Reynolds, President of the American Student Achievement Institute, home of Redesigning School Counseling. This video is focused on RSC, Redesigning School Counseling for districts, and it's for school districts with multiple RSC schools. This is the fourth in a four-part video series that ASA has been providing for schools and districts. The first video was just an overview of the Lilly School Counseling Initiative. The second video was on writing your planning grant. The third video was on RSC for schools, and if you've not watched that video, I think that's really important to do in addition to watching the RSC for districts video. So the purpose of this four-part video series is to help Indiana public school districts understand how RSC can be used during the planning phase in the Lilly School Counseling Initiative. And all four of these videos are available at www.asainstitute.org/Lilly. So a little bit of review from the first three videos. In video 2, Writing Your Planning Grant, we talked about pre-grant writing questions. And in the planning process, one of the questions we think that districts will need to talk about is, will the planning discussions occur at the district level or the school level? And we're strongly recommending that those discussions happen at the school level. That's because the students are different in each school, and we really want each school's discussion then to focus on the student data for that school, so that we're targeting each school's initiatives specifically to the needs of the students in that school. Also, the politics are a little bit different in every school, and as we're implementing a comprehensive school counseling program, we want to be able to address any resistance that may come up and really look at the players in each school and talk about how to engage everyone in that individual school in redesigning school counseling. So we really think that it's important to have these planning discussions at the school level rather than at the district level. However, we are going to talk today about how to coordinate district discussions with school discussions. And then the second question that we think districts will need to look at is, if you are engaging in discussions at the school level, will all schools in the district use the same planning process? And our recommendation is that, yes, all schools should use the same planning process. That enables all schools to use the same terminology, to be on the same timeline. It just really helps with coordination if all schools are engaged in the same process. So this video will help you consider how you might monitor and coordinate your school's efforts if multiple schools in your district are using RSC. Then in video 3, which was RSC for schools, just a couple of highlights from that. One, we wanted to make sure that you understand that our school counseling impact pyramid. Basically, we believe that when schools are engaged in sound guidance and counseling, that students tend to make better choices in areas that impact achievement, and as a result, achievement goes up. And we'll see in a minute that we have independent research that absolutely shows that RSC schools have higher achievement, and we think that that's because of this pyramid. So when we help schools design their school counseling program, we start out with the academic goals that are in the school improvement plan, and then we just work this backwards. We say, okay, in order for our school to reach these academic goals, what student choices do kids need to make? And once we've defined those choices, then we design the guidance and counseling activities that will help students make those choices. In RSC, the goal of the school counseling program is to help students make these targeted choices. So there's been a lot of evidence that RSC is a program that works. One level of evidence is testimony. The Indiana State Chamber of Commerce, in one of their recent publications, said that one of the brightest spots on the Indiana school counseling landscape is Gold Star School Counseling, which RSC is the process that Indiana schools use to earn that award. And they point out that Gold Star RSC continues to expand across the state. And then they also say that the RSC program provides a consistent and comprehensive process for schools to examine, organize, and design their school counseling efforts based on student goals and outcomes. We also know that our professional development model works. One of the awards that schools across the country can apply for is the Ask a Ramp Award. That's the recognized Ask a Model Program Award. And Indiana currently has many more awardees than other states. The average amount of RAMP awardees per state is under 10, and in Indiana we have 129. We're actually close to 180 that are RAMP eligible. So we know that the professional development model that we use works, because if it didn't, we wouldn't have 129 RAMP schools in Indiana. Okay, so all of that is nice to see that our professional development model works and that people say nice things about the process, but here's the bottom line. What we're really after is seeing whether or not achievement goes up as a result of schools' participation in RSC. We are school counselors, and so our focus in our guidance and counseling programs needs to be on helping students become successful at school. Independent research was conducted by the University of Connecticut and University of Scranton, and it was published by the American School Counselor Association. And it showed that RSC schools have significantly higher scores on state math and language arts tests. And that really pleases us, because that's what school counseling is all about. As school counselors, we're about helping kids be successful at school. And to be able to put data behind RSC that shows that that occurs, we think is wonderful. So another thing that we really hit on in the RSC for Schools video was that RSC is not about replicating a model program. We don't believe that there is a one-size-fits-all answer for designing a school counseling program. There's not one, if a program works in Houston, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in Indianapolis or in Paoli or in Terre Haute. So this is not about replicating some other school's model. What this is about is a discovery process where schools will discover, design, and then deliver a school counseling program that is the right program. It's a model program for their school. It may include bits and pieces of other schools' programs, but it may also include things that are totally unique and new that nobody's ever done before. So it is a discovery process where schools discover the model that's best for them. So as we're going through this process with your schools, here's the questions that we're helping the schools answer. What choices do successful students make? And then what percentage of our students make those choices? And then why aren't more kids making those choices? What's the best way to provide information or opportunities that all students need so that they can make those choices? And what's the best way to provide social and emotional support that some students need that are getting in the way of their ability to make sound choices? So it's all about teasing out those choices, figuring out why kids aren't making those choices, and then putting a program in place that will help kids make those choices. So we're providing kids information and opportunities. We're supporting them so that they make the choices that successful students make. Okay, so here's the process just in a nutshell. These are the months in second semester that we'll be working with your schools and what the tasks are. So in January, we're getting organized and collecting data. In February, we're helping the schools set their goals for student choices. And then in March, we're identifying root causes or why kids aren't making those choices. In April, we're figuring out what to do about those root causes, and we'll explore and research activities and then start to design the activities that are going to work best in that school for that school's specific goals. And then we'll also design the delivery framework. This is a very important step where we'll look at, is it going to just be school counselors that are delivering these activities, or are we also going to incorporate others through a teacher advisor program or a community-based guidance initiative or parents as advisors initiative? So we'll talk about what the delivery framework is going to look like. And then in May, we'll communicate with the district. So your schools in May will be telling you, here are the activities that we plan to implement. And then they'll also tell you how much funding that they think they're going to need to do that over the next 4 years within the constraints that you've given them. So in May then, you'll have all that information to help you develop your district application for Lily's implementation grant. Okay, so now let's specifically talk about how you can engage as a district to help your schools do this. So RSC District helps districts support schools as they participate in the RSC process, and it's optional. We have a lot of schools that don't have any support from their district, and they get through RSC just fine and really implement good programs, and we see data that show that students, that a higher percentage of students are making targeted choices. So schools don't have to be in a district where the district participates in RSC. That is totally optional. But if you did want to participate, here's how this would work. One of the things is that we would provide you with professional development in the form of webinars. So there would be a monthly webinar for the district that would happen 1 week prior to the school's webinars. And in a typical agenda for the district webinar, we would be talking about what step in RSC the schools are going to do next. We'd overview the step, talk about the terminology the schools will be using, what kind of struggles they might have, where they're going to maybe find resistance or what's going to be exciting to them. So we're just really talk about overviewing that step and helping you understand what the schools will be going through in the next month. Then we'll also talk about how you might embed district level requirements, if you do have any, into each of the steps. So for example, when we get to goals, if you want to decide that it's going to be a district-wide goal that students, that we increase the percentage of students, let's say, who are submitting a FAFSA, you want that to be a district-wide goal, then we'll say, at this point we'll say, okay, now's the point to let your schools know that so that they can incorporate that into their school level plans. So most of our districts don't have district level requirements, but if you want to, we'll help you know when and how to fit those into the school's work. And then the last thing is each month we'll talk about places where you could provide possible support for the schools in the step. So maybe there's some professional development that you could do at the district level, or lots of different things depending on what the step is. So, and actually, this is a list of possible district support. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but just as an example, in January we're going to be talking to the schools about getting organized. And they're all going to be looking for community partners. Well, it might be that you're kind of thinking, oh my gosh, does that mean that all 18 of our schools are going to be calling this one big business in our district? And what we've had districts do is they'll get together a point person from each of the schools, and they'll say, okay, let's divvy up our biggest industry, our biggest businesses, and let's work it so that school A will contact this business and school B will contact that business. So we can coordinate the partner recruitment efforts. Another thing that could happen in January is using one of the tools in the district admin system. Your superintendent could send a thank you email directly to all of your partner organizations in all of your schools that have the organizations that have been recruited by all of your schools, to thank them for supporting the schools. So yeah, so each month we'll have some suggestions about how you might help if you want to, and always that's optional. We know that district folks have time constraints as well as the schools do. So we'll make some suggestions, we'll brainstorm with all the different districts that are involved in this during the webinar, different things that they might do, but nothing in this is required. Okay, then we'll also provide for the districts on-call support, so if you want to give us a call to bounce an idea off of us, ask a question, tell us about a challenge that you're having, ask us to review a grant application, all that support you have if you engage at the district level. And then one thing that we think is going to be really helpful to districts is that we'll provide a district admin system that includes a lot of tools that we think will help you monitor, coordinate your school's work, as well as apply for the the implementation grant in May. So here's just some examples. This is a report that we'll provide that will enable you to monitor your school's progress through the RSC process. And so if I were, in a district office and I'm looking at this report, the thing that's obvious that jumps out is that Brown Elementary School has not engaged. They kind of got started and then things dropped off. So you'll know that our staff is working with Brown to help nudge them along. But with this information, you might nudge them along as well. We might work together in making sure that we're understanding what's getting in the way of Brown, engaging in the process, and then doing what we need to do and maybe what you can do to help nudge Brown along. So, okay, so that's one report. And also, we will aggregate all of your school's student data so that you can look at district-wide data. So, for example, have you taken or do you plan to take an advanced placement course? When we look at, and this was answered by students in grades 9 through 12, we can look at all data, but then I'll show you in a minute, we have a ton of disaggregated data. So in this specific report, here's how all students answered this question, but now I've disaggregated the data between free and reduced and paid lunch students. This is a real school's data, by the way, and you can see there's a huge discrepancy that the free and reduced lunch students don't plan to take an AP course at a level that is similar to their peers. Okay. This is where districts can open up all of the different reports that come from the survey. And you can see over here, these are all the ways that we disaggregate the data. So at the district level, you could say, you can obtain a district level report that has been disaggregated by grade level, gender, race, ethnicity, lunch program status, if the parents have been in college or not, typical report card grades. So there's lots of different ways to disaggregate, and for the districts, we're also going to disaggregate the data by school so that, if you see over here that that 37% of the free and reduced lunch students are planning to take or have taken an AP course, you could come over here then and disaggregate that by school level to see how that compares school to school. Okay, and then also you can create a student group. So if your district is really focusing on school improvement with your African American third grade boys, you could create that as a student group and look at just specifically how those students answered survey questions across your district. And then this is a nice little tool that if you wanted to send emails directly to students, what you could do in this section is tell the computer that you'd like email addresses for students who said that they're not planning on taking an AP class in high school, who also get A's and B's on the report card, who also are planning to go to college, and then you've got all those kids' email addresses, and you can just shoot them out a targeted email about the importance of AP and how to get engaged and all of that. So this is a very, very rich tool where you can target your guidance messages. One other thing is you look at these reports, all of the icons that are yellow, those are password protected reports. The only people that can get those are the counselors that have the password for our system. And then you'll see down here with the student list generator, that information is never available for the student assistance questions or the counselor perceptions. The blue icons are data that we do make available to the public. It's about students' plans for their future and what their guidance needs are. And this way, if there's a Kiwanis Club or the Economic Development Council or community organizations that also want to deliver guidance initiatives, they can look at this data to find out how to best target their initiatives. Okay, another part of the admin system is a report where you can review your school's goals. So you can see that here are the goals that schools have entered, and then here's the school's name, and we've identified which schools have incorporated which goals into their school counseling process. So turning in homework, we see there's 3 schools, that both high schools and one of the middle schools have decided to incorporate turning in homework as a priority goal. And then If we look at for your course plan, only one school. So as you're looking at this as a district person, here are the kind of stories that I think will jump out that might be of interest to you. First of all, it jumps out that one of my middle schools is having kids create a four-year high school course plan. The other middle school's not. So I might be on the phone with Jones Middle School real quickly to just say, you know, is this an area that you were just not doing, or maybe you didn't include it as a priority goal because you're already doing it. Let's just have a little conversation of that, because we really think it's important that all students have a four-year high school course plan in our district regardless of what middle school they're at. So it just opens up that discussion, that bit of data. Another story in this data is that both of the high schools are planning on doing a college fair, and so I might be sending an email to the steering teams in both high schools using, there's a tool where you can send out emails that way. I might send an email to both high schools saying, gosh, you guys both have this goal. You might want to think about joining forces, maybe talk about having a district-wide college fair instead of 2 individual college fairs in your schools. That could save a ton of resources and a ton of time. Another story is participating in job shadowing. We see that all of the elementary schools except Brown, who we know is kind of disengaged at this point, all of the elementary schools are planning to do something around job shadowing. So I might think, man, maybe I want to offer professional development on job shadowing for all the middle schools, or I'm sorry, all the elementary schools, and invite them to come in to hear from schools that do job shadowing and you know, share their resources or whatever. So we're looking at areas that maybe we can help with district-wide professional development based on what the school's needs are. So, okay, and then there's Brown that doesn't have any goals identified because, again, they're kind of disengaged. Okay, so here's another report. Down the road, we're anticipating that somebody's going to ask you to make a list of all the school counseling activities that are happening across the district. Well, each of the schools have entered those activities into our system, so our system can just spit out that report for you. So in this report, this is our activities report. The activities are organized by priority goal. We can also do another version of this report where the activities would be organized by school. But in this case, it's priority goal. So we're saying, okay, across the district we have schools that are interested in increasing the percentage of students who take an AP or do a credit course. And here's what Smith Middle School is doing. Here's what North High School is doing. So we're looking at across the district what are schools doing to support this one goal. Okay. Then I mentioned these targeted emails. That's another tool in the admin system where you can get email addresses for the RSC point person in each school or the entire steering team in each school, so you could send out an email, a mass email to all of the steering team members across your district, in all the schools combined. And then you can use that student list generator to send students who answer a specific survey question in a specific way a targeted email. That is FERPA compliant, by the way, and we can provide our attorney's statement about how we handle student data properly. Okay, then also down the road, we're anticipating that your district is going to be asked to come up with data that shows that the activities that you've implemented throughout the 4 years of the implementation phase, that those activities are making a difference. So this is another report that you'll be able to get out of the admin system. So if the priority goal is to increase the percentage of students who turn in their homework, this report is showing you that there were 2 schools in your district that had that goal, and that involved in those 2 schools just over 1,000 students. And in January 2017, this was your baseline data, so 20% of the students reported that they were turning in their homework, usually on time. And that represented 199 students out of just over 1,000, so 20%. Then we will, with your schools, collect follow-up data each year. So you'll be able to see how that changes year to year, and we'll be working with your schools to determine if their initiatives are working to drive this data up or if we need to tweak initiatives. but you'll be able to monitor that as well. And if somebody asks you for district level data, then you're going to have that. One other thing I wanted to point out is that you're going to have this baseline data before you write the implementation grant. So you can strengthen your implementation grant by including the baseline data, and then also identifying target data for each of the 4 implementation years. So, okay, so let's look at some logistics about just how to get engaged with this initiative. First of all, this is the fee scale. So if your district is interested in engaging in RSC at the district level, what the expense would be, the $550 per participating school. So this is the school's fee for engaging in RSC at the school level. And then in addition to that, you would pay this fee, which is a sliding fee scale depending on how many schools are in your district and how many schools are participating in RSC, and then how many students are in your district. So that's the sliding fee scale. So that's the expense. Then we also think it will be nice for you to allocate some funds for each school that they can use during the planning process. So in addition to the enrollment fee, which to participate in RSC you have to expend, there is the suggestion that you also allocate some funds from your planning grant for each of your schools. So this is just a suggestion, and the amount that you end up putting in these lines is up to you. It could range from nothing to much more than this. If you are a small district with 2 schools and you're receiving a $30,000 planning grant, you're going to have a lot of funding, we think, to put into the schools. So here's what we're suggesting. At least $900 for a site visit to visit a model school somewhere in the country, and we'll be providing lists of model school programs for your schools. And so, or if you have a lot of money, maybe make that $1,800 so they can do 2 site visits. Printing, if your schools are not able to print in-house, we're suggesting $50 for printing for your council meetings, for their partner meetings, council meetings. And then to support those council meetings or the partner meetings, we're suggesting $600. There's 3 meetings of the partners at the building level. That would work out to, of course, $200 then per meeting. And that funding, we would suggest that the schools use for either room rental if they're not meeting in the building, the school building, or catering. Most of our meetings that we have with the partners are 2 hours long. We think we've learned that we need that much time to introduce a concept, look at data, and really dig in deeply to the conversation, that less than 2 hours just doesn't cut it. So what we suggest is we kind of get the introduction going, give people a chance to kind of think about things, look at data, then have a meal, lunch or dinner or snack or whatever, and then come back and really dig into that discussion. So that would be a good expenditure of funding, we think, to support those partner meetings or the council meetings. And then conferences, the amount of $1,200 would support 1 person attending a conference. There's a very good conference in March that we think would be worth your counselors a time to attend. It's the Evidence-Based School Counseling Conference. It's in San Diego, and it's really a nice place to go to look for model school counseling programs. So yeah, so that's what we suggest you allocate per schools in your planning grant application, in addition to the technical assistance costs that you'll need to provide for the schools in your involvement in RSC. And again, the district involvement is totally optional. It is possible for schools to participate just at the school level without having this expense of the district also being involved. Okay, so this is the webinar schedule. If you have schools in your district that are already in RSC, they're part of the 2016 cohort, you can see that they've already completed some of this work. This cohort, the 2017 cohort, will start in January. So their first steps are to enroll in RSC by December 8th, and then on December 15th, make sure they've got their Lilly app turned in by then, or the district has your Lilly app turned in by then. Here's the webinar dates, and if it's a school that's been involved in RSC before, they would meet at 1:30, and if it's a first-year school or a former school that wants to totally revamp everything, just get a fresh start, their meetings would be at 3:30. And then here are your meetings, and you'll notice that your meetings are happening the district level a week ahead of when the school webinars are, so that we can get you prepped for working with your schools. Okay, so how do you enroll? I'm just going to show you that real quickly. We'll actually go to the online for that. You'll go to asainstitute.org/Lilly, and then we're getting support for the planning phase. So we want to look at this middle column. This is where your schools would enroll, and this is where the district would enroll. So I want to just show you that real quickly. And we'll open this up. First thing you're going to do is type in your district's name. I live in Monroe County, so I'm just going to start typing Monroe County Community School Corp. Your name, your position, phone, email, all of that. Then when you scroll down, you'll see that based on DOE information, we have told you the number of schools that DOE indicates that you have in your district, and then the number of students that you have. So on our sliding fee scale, we're looking at this number of students. Then you're going to tell us how many schools are participating. So, I'd love that to be 21, but because that's really cool when a whole district is participating. But just to simplify things, let's just say 2. And then when I put in 2, I'm going to say that this number does not match the number of schools that you've selected. So I'm going to say maybe both of the high schools are going to have to be involved. Now it matches. And then you'll notice too that as I do that, my enrollment fee is appearing here. So one other thing in the bottom of this is our Memorandum of Understanding. This is our deliverables. These are the deliverables that we promise that we will provide, and you can expect us to provide with integrity. And then here is the things that the district agrees to do. So, and again, if we don't provide our deliverables, we've wasted your time and your funding. And if you don't live up to these agreements in terms of your engagement in the process, then then you've wasted our time. So we think this is really an agreement between us and your district as partners working on this together. And then here, if you need the enrollment fee structure, there it is down there as well. So you just fill that out and then hit submit. Okay, winding up then. After you have enrolled as a district, you'll get an email immediately from us that gives you a link to the webinar registrations site so that you can register for each of the webinars. And then that email will also give you sample language that describes your RSC strategies and activities during the second semester. And you'll be able to use that sample language to help you write the Lilly Planning Grant application. So in the Lilly Planning Grant application, there's one part where you're asked to describe your district strategies and activities, and that's where you can kind of reword the language that we're giving you and kind of drop that into the Lilly Planning Grant app. So, okay, and again, if you haven't watched writing your Lilly Planning Grant video, that might be something you want to look at. And then also, after your district is enrolled, please feel free to use our unlimited on-call support. Just call us if you want us to look over your planning grant application, if you want to bounce an idea off of us, whatever. Okay, so do remember that this is the fourth of a 4-part video series, and if you haven't watched RSC for Schools, we really suggest that you watch that as well so you know what your schools will be doing. And then if you have any questions about this, questions about the Lilly School Counseling Initiative should be directed to Lilly. There's the email address. And if you have any questions about redesigning school counseling and using it during the planning phase for Lilly's initiative, send us an email or call us on the phone. Okay, that's it. Appreciate your attendance during this video, please, please, please feel free to ask us questions, give us a call. We really want to help you engage in these planning activities, and we want to help you receive that planning funding. So please feel free to give us a call. So thanks everyone, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.